Now, of course, we talk about the sandwich generation, right? People who are taking care of kids and taking care of older parents. And I think that, and what I have coined is the going from the sandwich generation to the club sandwich generation, which is that you get now older people taking care of even older people. And I know that this is so you have parents that are elderly, and so
Do.
tell us a little bit about your caregiving experience and how you've dealt with that.
Well, I've actually been pretty fortunate. My parents are 89 and 91.
Wow.
Um, but they've been pretty self-sufficient. So while I need to assist them with things like, the household activities and things like that, and going shopping, there's a lot that my parents fortunately are able to do for themselves. So I am able to work and to provide my caregiving duties. But I think there are a lot of people who are not as fortunate as I am as a caregiver. And there's so much stress on caregivers. Some people have to leave their jobs. It's some people have to move to different parts of the country to take care of their aging parents. The stress on caregivers is extreme, and I think the pandemic has only exacerbated that. Something like more than 50 million people, I believe, are providing caregiving assistance to loved ones in an unpaid, informal manner. And the
Right.
value of that is into the billions of dollars. They are the backbone
Right.
of our caregiving workforce. And
Right.
and this is Ron, is kind of bringing us back to the start of our conversation. People want to stay home. They want to live in their homes. They want to have as fulfilling a life as they can. And this is, caregivers are helping our older relatives to stay in their homes. I'm curious if you have an idea what percentage of people in the United States actually live in nursing homes.
I don't have that figure. No, I'm not. So tell me.
It's a very small number.
Mhm.
Only just over 2% of the older adult population live in nursing homes. That would be people 65 and older.
Right.
Only just over 2.2%. The percentage increases with age. So for people, actually, it's 1% for people 65 to 74. It's 2% for people
Mhm.
75 to 84, and then 8% for people over the age of 85. But most people are living in the community, and thank goodness that's where they want to be, and that's where our families want to help them be. And again, the unpaid informal caregiver is the backbone of our caregiving workforce in this country.
Right. Yeah, I think that there has been a lot of attention on nursing homes, and I think also because of the pandemic, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they were shut down. People were not able to see their elderly loved ones. There were some issues, well, in where I live in New York about, underreporting of numbers of COVID deaths and so forth. Some unfortunate statistics. But as you point out, I mean, the idea is, and nursing homes have a specific purpose too. I mean, it's when people really are medically unable to stay in their homes for various reasons. So, so there's an important reason for why they exist.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
but as you said, the number is smaller than people think. And I think one of the issue too is that it's expensive. So people can, the better options to figure out ways that they can stay in their homes. So obviously there are other opportunities to where group homes or assisted living communities. So there are more options these days, I think, that people have, and I think more options for different ways to stay in their community. Um, whether it's sometimes sharing homes between seniors and younger people. So there are more options. Uh, but I think that the overall issue is how do you keep doing this, and how do you find a way to sort of normalize it, and I guess the last thing that I want to mention with respect is, as you mentioned earlier, Rhonda. I mean, the stress on people can be enormous. Um, what makes it difficult? Well, often it's because someone may be living in New York, where I am, but their parents are in North Carolina or in Arizona or in Florida. So you have long distance issues about taking care of your parents. And that's where I think people really, in terms of planning, need to think about organizations and agencies like yours. Because that's what, in terms of one of the things I know you've talked about is the issue of self-care, right? How caregivers take care of themselves. And one of the critical things is being aware of other resources that can help you. You're not alone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm happy to share some of those that we can provide for
Sure.
folks.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so first is our National Family Caregiver Support Program,
Great.
and that service is provided under Title III-E of the Older Americans Act. So
Mhm.
that would be provided through our AAA network throughout the country. And under that program, education, training, caregiver support services, and counseling services are provided, and the all-important respite service is provided. So that's a service that gives a break to caregivers. And so that service is provided to caregivers of any age of older adults, or it could be someone under age 60 if they have Alzheimer's or a related dementia. But also that service is provided to older adult relatives who are caring for children
Mhm.
and for certain younger adults with certain disabilities who meet the Older Americans Act requirements. So for the caregiver of older relative caregiver of a child, it can't be their parent, but it could be another older relative related by blood
Right.
or some other relationship to the child.
Right. Right. And again, people find out about these programs. Can they find out about it by going to acl.gov, or would it be faster to go to their local agencies?
I think the best way to find out about how the program is being delivered in your community is to go to your senior center or to your area agency on aging. We also offer other services, Ron. So we have what's called a lifespan respite care program. That's a discretionary grant program. So not every state has it. They have to apply for it, and it is a
Hmm.
competitive grant program. But that also is a program offering respite services to caregivers across the lifespan. So that's caregivers of people of all ages. So that includes children and older adults with certain disabilities.
Right.
And it's caregivers of children with serious disabilities. But that's another program that's out there. And then another thing I want to mention
Sure.
is in 2021, ACL delivered 2 reports to Congress on issues facing family caregivers and recommendations for addressing them. One was under the RAISE Act, and
Hmm.
RAISE stands for Recognize, Assist, Include, Support, and Engage Family Caregiver Act. And the other report was Supporting Grandparents Raising Grandchildren's report. So that was under the Supporting Grandparents Raising Grandchildren's Act. And
Hmm.
under these 2 acts, ACL developed advisory committees that worked with ACL over a period of time to develop these recommendations. And ACL is now working with those advisory councils and with other federal partners to develop a national caregiving strategy, which will be delivered to Congress this fall, or it's due
Wow.
to be delivered to Congress this fall, I should say. And I do want to point out, Ron, if folks are looking, if you're a caregiver in one part of the country and your loved one is somewhere else, please feel free to reach out to the Elder Care Locator.
Hmm.
That is a national hotline that connects older adults and their caregivers to services and resources throughout the US. So the Elder Care Locator, you can find it online just by entering Elder Care Locator into a search. I also have the phone number for that if you'd like me to share
Sure.
that for
Might as well
folks to
share it.
call.
Hmm.
It's 800-677-1116.
Okay.
And that's
Great.
a great
Great.
service.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, there's a lot more to talk about, but unfortunately, we're gonna have to leave it there for today, Rhonda. I know we'll invite you back for another show. You have lots of ideas about aging in general. I think that many of us have had time to think about during the pandemic and have changed some of our priorities, and including us. I know you and me about deciding even to continue dyeing our hair and basically
Yeah,
embracing our aging. Uh,
exactly. Oh,
right.
I'd love to come back and talk more.
Sure, sure. But anyway, so thanks so much for a great conversation, Rhonda. And I want to tell folks again, if you miss, if they tell your friends if they miss my conversation with Rhonda, you can listen to it as a podcast on voiceamerica.com. Search for my show 45 Forward. You can also go to my website, roelresources.com, and just click on the 45 Forward tab, and you can listen to Rhonda's show as well as a whole list of my other shows over the last year or so. So, folks, be sure to join me next Monday, 12 noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, when I'll be talking with Sherry Coombs, who will talk about an intriguing trend in housing, especially for older families. They're called tiny homes, or sometimes a bit bigger than tiny, but smaller than average. So, folks, until then, keep moving forward, 45 forward.